everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Hello.
Hello, hello. We'll wait a few minutes until everybody joins the room, and then we will get started. Let's see, it's all right. Cool. See some more people coming in. Okay. All right. Hello and welcome to this evening's District 3 Candidate Forum, hosted by San Jose Arts Advocates. My name is Amanda Rawson, and I am one of the founding core members of San Jose Arts Advocates. I'm joined by my fellow SJAA members this evening, Peter Allen, who's the founder of San Jose Arts Advocates, Carmen Gaines, and Karen Kinsel. We do have a few others in the room that are part of the SJAA team, which you might be able to see them in the comment section. So a little bit about us. San Jose Arts Advocates is a collaborative project driven by the San Jose creative community, dedicated to education, advocacy, and action to support arts and culture. Our goals are really simple. One, build public will for arts and culture in San Jose. Two, amplify the political voice of San Jose's creative community. And three, provide opportunities for learning, networking, and collaboration. So I'm going to go over a few of the ground rules and then just three or four points that we want to share before we get started. Ground rules. Number one, we will be recording this forum and posting the recording on our YouTube for those who could not attend. So just be aware of that and share with people who you know who weren't able to be here this evening. Number two, there will be no candidate intros. We'll go straight into the questions. Links to the candidates' websites will be posted in the chat, and we have also shared the responses to their questionnaire on our website. Number three, each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to respond to each question, and we will rotate who goes first. Because we have, I think, 5 candidates attending this evening, we have asked candidates to keep their responses concise to allow us to really cover as many questions as possible. We have asked candidates to observe basic rules of decorum and refrain from ad hominem attacks or calling out fellow candidates. Instead, they have been encouraged to use their precious time to tell us more about who they are and why the creative community should support them. Many registrants have submitted questions in advance. We appreciate that. And we have attempted to synthesize them into the topics we've planned to cover. If time permits, we may allow for live questions. If we don't get to all of your questions, please know we will forward additional questions to the candidates and share written responses on our usual channels, email, social media, and so forth. And last, a note to all: foul, false, self-serving, belligerent, derogatory, sexist, racist, fascist, or otherwise hateful and or hurtful commentary of any kind will not be tolerated, and you will be immediately removed from the forum and banned from all of our future SJA events. So that right there are our ground rules. I want to just share a few items before we go into the forum. If you haven't already, we encourage you to visit sanjoseartsadvocates.org to read responses to our candidate questionnaire, which informed tonight's forum. You can also use the website to sign up for our mailing list, get important advocacy alerts, and learn how you can support our efforts. And then in case you missed our latest community briefing, which was recorded and posted on our YouTube channel, you can scan the QR code on this slide to watch it on demand and learn more about our advocacy priorities for 2025. And one last request before we get started: please, please, please participate in our 2025 community survey to help inform the San Jose Arts Advocates advocacy. We value your perspective and we invite you to be as honest as possible. Now, without further ado, I want to invite Carmen Gaines and Karen Kinsel, who will start the forum.
Thank you. And we have organized the candidates by first name, and we'll be asking the candidates to start in alternating order. So for the first question, candidate Todios, and then Chavez Lopez, Smith, Quevedo, and Wade, and then the second candidate in that list will start. For our first question, the arts have the power to convene, build connections, and heal communities. What is one idea you have to improve, enhance, and support arts and culture in District 3? Who are the key partners and stakeholders you would need to engage to make this idea a reality? So candidate Todios, if we could start with you.
Thank you for the question. I agree that arts are a really powerful tool for building community. I would say one idea that I have is focusing in on the interface between public art projects and our neighborhoods. I think that investing in public art is a great benefit to our communities in terms of beautifying our streets and even helping with things like safety and preventing graffiti. And by working with our communities, we can help to loop them into the process so that we have art that is representative of the local culture of the community, can feature work of local artists, and we can partner with local institutions like our public schools and our neighborhood associations to have them contribute ideas to the design and even help to source artists. I think in terms of the partners that we need to make this happen, I think we can work with city departments like PRNS, existing programs like Beautify SJAA to provide some grant funding in coordination with our neighborhoods. And then obviously we'll need participation from all of our neighborhood groups, our local arts organizations, our cultural institutions, and places like our schools to help bring the community into the process.
Thank you. Candidate Chavez Lopez.
Yeah, so one idea I have, and I think it's critically important as we're going through the budget times that we are, is really ensuring that we are drawing down any state and federal resources into our arts and culture sector. I'm very much focused on that as I am an executive director of a nonprofit currently. And so making sure that we're growing the pie as much as possible is really going to be key, because if we don't have the resources necessary, all of our great plans will not be able to be implemented. And so working with our state leaders, working with our county leaders, working with our federal leaders to make sure that we are unlocking any sort of opportunities for funding there. And also encouraging folks to work collaboratively. I think working with the Office of Economic Development is going to be really key, and really having the arts being thought of as the economic driver that they are is going to be really important. Obviously, having artists at the table is going to be key, because this is their work and their projects. And so making sure that we're prioritizing the priorities of those organizations in those state and federal asks is going to be really important. And as your city council member, you know, I would be committed to ensuring that we're able to unlock those resources. As somebody who has been personally responsible for drawing down resources from the federal government and the state government for my own agency, I do have a background in that. And I do know what it takes, and it's partnership and real collaboration, and a real shared strategy. So I think that doing things together and also looking at different agencies and levels of government is going to be really key as we're facing some really tough budget times. So that would be my play-by-play, and that would, I think, be my focus area of how do we grow the pie bigger so that we can get more investment.
Mm-hmm. Candidate Smith.
Yeah. Well, to add to both Anthony and Gabby, my focus would really be partnerships with schools, because I think that we can take advantage of the funding that they already have, and we can use those students to help promote the art that we have, and then obviously encourage the art that they do themselves. Self-expression is just critical to mental health. And we all know what's happening at the school level, even the adult level. And art is going to play an absolutely critical role in that, both being able to experience someone else's art, but your own self-expression. So I'd like to see a lot of partnerships with everything from San Jose State to Horace Mann, so that we can really drive a lot more opportunities for art for everyone.
Thank you. Candidate Quevedo.
Thanks for the question. I'm a 7-year band nerd. I played trumpet from basically 6th grade until senior year. And so very much appreciative of the arts and the funding that schools have been getting locally. Definitely need to increase that. And something I would do is, we're entering a brave new world when it comes to federal and state funding, especially local funding, with the deficit we have of $60 million. The council members and the mayor tend to be some of the most prolific fundraisers for many causes. Something I'd like to champion as a council member of District 3 is to partner with different arts organizations and nonprofits to ensure they're getting the funding they need from, of course, the TOT fund, but also as a fundraiser to help support our art advocates in our community. I think they're an ask that can easily be made in partnership with different groups and organizations and events that are run throughout our downtown, is making sure the council member's office is helping partner to champion those asks. Sometimes when you go and secure, whether it's
You
city,
guys can,
whether it's city, state, or federal funding, it comes with a lot of requirements that nonprofit organizations or some smaller community groups aren't ready to meet because of all of the demands that are required by government to track that funding, which of course is critical and needed. But when you're able to fundraise from private sector, from businesses and philanthropic groups, you're able to get more organic funding that can be a little bit more flexible for great causes and organizations. So something I would definitely want to champion is making sure as a council member, utilizing the power of that office to help fundraise for the great organizations that are helping champion art across the district. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Wade?
Thank you for the question. I've been a thespian, a director, and a producer with San Jose Black Theater Workshop. I think it builds character for our youth. Um, I think it builds their self-knowledge and self-worth. I think what I would like to see is for us to partner with all the schools, as everyone's already mentioned. I'd like to see us partner with the schools and the communities and have contests between the schools as who can produce the best theater. Um, art contest. I think all the community should be involved. I think it's a learning process. I think it's therapeutic. I think it's something that we should pursue wholeheartedly.
Thank you.
Excellent. Karen and Carmen, I'm just going to butt in really quickly. I totally forgot. We do have we are very laid back here at San Jose Arts Advocates. However, we do have a timer. None of you have really gone on at length so far, but we're going to pop a little 2-minute timer up in the corner of your Zoom windows just to keep you on track, but we trust that you're all going to keep it very concise. Just wanted to throw that out there. So thank you for your patience.
Thanks so much, Peter, and thanks for all your help behind the scenes. Good evening, candidates. The next question. San Jose Arts Advocates has been excited about how other municipalities have implemented creative financial strategies to secure more resources to invest in arts, culture, and tourism programs, including dedicating transient occupancy taxes, also known as TOT, for this purpose. How would you and your office, representing District 3, take a leadership role in sustaining resources for the arts above and beyond discretionary funds? And first, candidate Chavez Lopez.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so I think one of the things that I was learning through this process of learning more about the TOT is that currently only, 15 cents out of every dollar goes towards arts and culture, and 40 cents goes to the general fund, and the rest goes to the convention centers and the marketing. But really what that means is, that the same organizations and the same arts and culture events that really add to San Jose really being an incredible tourist destination remain to be underfunded, and many rely on other sources of funding. So I think that it's important that we think through how that allocation works. And I think some of the greatest cities, when we think about their tourism economy, I have a destination marketing background, so I know how important and how much special events and arts and culture are to really drive a local economy. I think that we should really look at that funding mix and really think about that. And as someone who was there at your founding in 2020 when you all launched, I've been really interested and invested in really being able to drive, I think, our economy in downtown in particular. And everybody talks about vibrancy, and we know vibrancy cannot happen without the arts and culture sector. Most of our anchor institutions are in D3 as well as our cultural districts. So I think really looking at that funding mix is important. I'm also really active on the Downtown Association Arts and Culture Advocacy Committee. So working with you all as art advocates, partnering with that committee committee and making sure that resources are going where they're best, I think leveraged, I think is going to be really important.
Councilmember Chavez Lopez, you're now beyond time. Thank you so much. I'm sorry. Next, candidate Smith.
I thank you for the question. I think you're asking for additional funding than what's already being put forth, which is going to be difficult understanding with the deficit. I really want to focus on, this. Our local government is all about how can we provide services to the public, and I think when we're looking at priorities and budgeting, how, who's first in line? And first in line are the folks who are going to be the most neediest. So when we're looking at prioritizing, let's look at which art project we want to prioritize and how is that particular art project going to address the needs of that particular community, that whether it's children or a disadvantaged community. I would like to take the projects one at a time and look at them with that kind of perspective.
Thank you. And next, candidate Quevedo.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think first and foremost, of course, protecting the TOT fund as much as possible and making sure when budget conversations come up, there's a very crucial period when the mayor releases their March budget message and then through the discussions and debate to the June budget message and everything that's determined in between. I think it's very important to have the arts community a part of those conversations so we better understand in years that we're losing money and we have a deficit, where is it that we need to help support the arts community as much as possible, ensuring that the city government, of course, is meeting the basic needs of ending street homelessness, of helping support our police department, supporting the regular services that we have, and how do we ensure that the arts community gets the funding they need so that no program has to stop? As I mentioned in the first response, it's so important to figure out how can we help support both through the general fund, through the TOT fund, but through private sector dollars by helping partner with the many organizations that exist to help secure the dollars that they need. I think that's an important part of the conversation that we have to be having, especially crucial during that very important March to June budget discussion and decision-making process, ensuring that we have the community involved in those conversations every step of the way, so that we're able to help secure important dollars through the government fund and identifying where can we help fill the gap. So thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Wade.
I think that taxing the hospitality community and paying that into our arts and theater and crafts, I think that's a good idea. However, I think we're asking a lot of the hospitality community. What we first should be doing is trying to increase our revenue source. And by that, I mean we need to increase the business. The businesses downtown. We need to partner with the state, San Jose State, for example, have them provide students who are in their master's and business degrees working with mom and pop community businesses to help grow those businesses. I think we also should look at what I talked about some time back would be to invest in the homeless population, train them to support businesses, and develop a housing for the homeless downtown, District 3, that then we're able to turn that into a mixed business use and develop a hotspot of economic resources for the city.
Thank you. And then finally, candidate Tordios.
Thank you for the question. I'm a big believer that we need to look for ways to increase our funding for arts and culture in San Jose. But as others have alluded to, with our current budget shortfalls, that's going to be tough in these next couple of years. So I think we need to look at creative solutions here. I think this starts by making sure that we're doing a good job of quantifying the impact that arts investment has, and then actually selling that narrative to help build a coalition of votes on city council to invest in the arts. And we can look at the data and see $291 million of economic activity and $6 million a year in local tax revenue. I think if we bring that data in and quantify how this investment is going to not only be an investment in the health and well-being of our communities, but also will be funneled into future investment in our economy, that can help to bring a coalition together to support these initiatives. I'd say two ideas that I have here. One would be looking at a more flexible allocation of that 40% general fund set aside of the existing TOT tax. So in years where we do have a surplus, we can establish a policy by default that surplus or the 40% set aside will go towards arts and culture investment, while being flexible to say that in years of a deficit, like this year and next year, it will be set aside for general fund revenue. I think that could be an effective solution here to get some immediate investment as our economy and our budget situation improves. The other idea that I have here is looking at billboards. We've heard a lot about billboards these past few months. We know that they have been a contentious issue for District 3 voters. Many people came out and said that they did not want them in our community. So I think a good way to make things right with voters here in District 3 who were opposed to billboards coming downtown would be to turn around and make sure that all of the revenue that we bring in from billboards are getting reinvested back into our District 3 community. And I can't think of a better place to put that money than directly back into arts and culture.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Our next question. The San Jose Arts Advocates core team was dismayed to learn that the Cultural Facilities Capital Maintenance Reserve was identified to cut current budget balancing needs during the midterm budget report. How might you work to protect cultural resources during challenging budget cycles? And candidate Smith, we'll start with you.
I think Anthony's absolutely right. The way to really be able to justify some of this additional spending is going to be through financial metrics and measurement. So if we're bringing down how many people to downtown San Jose, how much are they spending on restaurants? How much are they spending on the theater and the arts? And present a package that says this is how much the arts are driving. This is the revenue generation for the downtown area. Based on that, we need this much money. I can't see a better argument than that. And that's, I think, how a lot of us would approach this.
Thank you. Candidate Quevedo?
Yeah, I agree with the comments made. And I think, why are we in the deficit position we're in today? And large part of it is because we've gone in an 11% dip in sales tax revenue that has caused a $60 million deficit that we have at the city. We need to get really focused on the essential items at City Hall, ensuring we're building up the revenue that we need to provide the basic services so we don't have to keep having this type of conversation long into the future. I think partnering with our arts community and our arts advocates, I've been a part of over 36 different political movements at this point. How do you protect and ensure that important funds like this are sustained and further expanded upon in future budgets? It's by continuing to advocate for it, ensuring that the community understands the importance of it, and to the points made, and in celebrating how the investments made bring in additional revenue to the city in terms of sales tax and other economic impacts that are supporting small businesses. So I think by both focusing on the core central items in our budget to ensure we're attracting that investment and helping ensure we're expanding our advocacy efforts, I think we can make sure that that fund is protected into the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Wade?
I agree with the comments made to this point. There are four pillars of economic success, and those are health, opportunity, progress, and education. If we focus on those areas, we can increase the resources available and the economic development within District 3.
Thank you. Candidate Tordillos?
Thank you. I agree that we need to bring the data here to, again, sell the value of all of our cultural facilities. But I think the other thing to remember here is that the budget making process is an interactive process. It takes place over the span of months. It involves extensive community outreach. forums where members of our community can come out and give their input. So I think we need to recognize that a lot of these facilities are highly valued by our community members. We need to engage with those community members, with our local arts organizations, and help to build a coalition of folks who will come out and speak in defense of funding for these critical institutions.
Thank you. Candidate Chavez Lopez.
Yeah, so I think we all agree that that obviously the arts is an economic driver for our city. I think what we also need to recognize is that sales tax being down, the arts can be a force multiplier in terms of bringing in revenue to the city, and that investment does have a return on investment. And so, you know, we do have the data thanks to San Jose Arts Advocates, which I was really happy to see in front of us. You know, every dollar spent on the arts and culture drives additional spending in restaurants, hotels, and shops. We know that the average event attendee spends $37 a local resident and $65 for non-residents of the city. And this means more foot traffic for small businesses. It means stronger local economies. Cities with thriving culture and arts see higher property values, stronger tourism, and better business investment. And so, you know, I think we need to be big advocates alongside you all to be able to uplift those data points and really build the coalitions necessary in order to make the economic arguments in times where there's economic distress, because I really do see that if you want to have a vibrant downtown, it's not only a critical piece, it's actually an essential piece. And you know, that's just something that we can't shy away from. So I think it's going to take a lot of advocacy. It's going to take groups like yours partnering with your council member to be able to make that case. And I think the data is out there. I mean, we see this beautiful report that the Cultural New Deal put together. All of it is in front of us. I think it's really in presenting it and making the case and talking to the particular departments that can help also vouch for that spend is going to be really important. I think it's a worthwhile investment and something we learned through the pandemic during distressing times, during times of pain in our community. It's the arts that has kept us alive and afloat and hopeful in the future. And so I think there's a lot of implications.
Thank you.
So according to the Americans for the Arts and Economic Prosperity Study, in 2022, through employment income and local state income taxes, nonprofit arts in San Jose had a $292 million impact, $292 million in large part due to creative industries in our city. What are some of the specific creative industries in District 3 that you would identify as essential community assets? How would you ensure that creative industries are integrated into the city's economic development strategies? And I believe we're starting with candidate Quevedo.
Yeah, it's no secret that the entertainment industry is important in downtown San Jose. We have not only just amazing amount of festivals in our downtown core. We have Christmas in the Park. We have events out of St. James Park. When I was president of the San Jose Downtown Residents Association, I used to run one of the largest national night outs at St. James Park, where we had many different partnerships with San Jose Jazz and other great organizations bringing arts to our community. I think something we need to do more of is making sure supporting that industry by helping them in the permitting process. A challenge that constantly occurs is when event planners and others are trying to run great events in our downtown core, whether it's at Cesar Chavez Plaza or it's in front of City Hall. Many times the event organizers and nonprofit organizations run into roadblocks when we're trying to get out of the way and make sure that a great event is put on. San Jose Foods, for example, is putting on a very large concert coming up with Fisher. I know your Gen Z kids will know about it. I don't know much about it, but it's a great opportunity for us to expand and help celebrate the great things that make downtown great. And so I think ensuring that we're supporting our entertainment organizations and nonprofits and making sure we're getting out of the way as much as possible so that they can help bring life and vibrancy is absolutely critical. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Wade.
Am I unmuted? Can you hear me? So I would look at bringing the national museums to tour through District 3 um, to look at the history of art. For example, the arts discovered in Germany, African art that has been buried deep underground. I'd like to get those art museums to tour through San Jose, District 3 in particular, um, and help cultural education. I would encourage that kind of thing, and I think that would help.
Thank you. Candidate Torrijos.
Thank you. I would say some of the assets that are most important to me are our museums, our museum row on South First Street in particular. Big fan of South First Fridays, and I love bringing friends from out of town in to see all of the arts and culture that we do have in San Jose. So that I would add all of our performing arts spaces, like the Center for the Performing Arts, Broadway San Jose, all of our live music venues, and as Matthew said, our festival circuit. And hope to, again, liven our streets and really bring our community together for live music and performance art. In terms of things that we could do better, I think we need to do a better job actually advertising all of the cultural offerings that we have here in San Jose. I mentioned that I like to bring friends who live outside of the city into town when we have some of these big events or things like South First Fridays, and people are almost universally impressed by other offerings here, but they're also surprised. They say, I didn't know that all of this was happening here in San Jose. We know from the data that the majority of folks in that number who come out and participate in nonprofit arts and cultural events in San Jose are from outside of Santa Clara County. And we also know that those visitors who are not local spend more money per visitor than our local residents do. So I think by doing a better job of evangelizing all of the cultural assets and events that we have here, we can help to increase the number of out-of-town visitors coming to enjoy these events, and then also provide significant new spending to support all of our arts and cultural institutions and support our local businesses here downtown.
Great. Thank you. And candidate Chavez Lopez.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think I would definitely want to expand the capacity of some of our cultural districts. So we know that Japantown is a thriving cultural district. SOFA is thriving, lots going on. And so making sure that they have the resources and capacity to be able to do the marketing and be able to support events that are happening in their areas. And so I think that's one of our strengths as a community is the diversity of the cultures. And I think really playing into our strengths as a city and really highlighting that diversity is going to attract people from all over to really be able to come and understand that there is a history, there is a culture, there is a specific culture that is being really celebrated in that area of town. I think being able to identify other cultural districts would be really great and be able to kind of weave them together so that it's walkable, so that folks can really participate. One of the other programs that I know is going really well is the Cultural Ambassador Program and the Resilient Artist Cohort, which really makes sure that those resources get directly to the artists and don't charge an overcost administrative fee. I get that as a nonprofit ED, you get the money to where it's most needed. And so I think the more that the city, to Matthew's point, can get out of the way and not be taking away resources, but giving them directly to artists, really allows for that creative expression and for them to be able to leverage these cultural districts and really be able to build community is going to be really key. So let's just play to our strengths and really celebrate the diversity of cultures that we have here in San Jose.
Thank you. And finally, candidate Smith.
So I have to agree with everybody what they have said in terms of evangelizing. We definitely need to promote so that people know what we have, the assets that we have. And from Gabby and Matthew, we've got to make that permit process easier. I also like a real idea of having not just our communities, but our neighborhoods with each of their own artistic areas much more connected. But everything seems to be a little bit more disparate than I would like to see. I'd rather see everybody coming together and saying, oh, this neighborhood is doing this, and so all these other neighborhoods can support this, and then this neighborhood over here is doing this. Much more a bringing together. My experience has been with permits very difficult. We did it was performance art maybe a decade ago, and we would do art all throughout by the Cesar Chavez Park, dancing. And I was invited as a yoga instructor to teach at the Museum of Art. And we taught yoga to kids in the lobby and to adults in the lobby. But the biggest problem was the permits and then getting the word out to try and get other community artists involved in this process. So I'd like to see us really find a really way of connecting and reaching out to other artists and getting through that permit process a lot faster.
Thank you.
Thank you all. The city's Cultural Connection Arts Master Plan and Public Art Master Plan are both out of date. The cultural plan expired in 2020, and the Public Art Master Plan reached its sunset in 2012. Are you aware of these plans, or have you had the opportunity to read them? Will you work to secure funding to complete an update of these plans? And candidate Wade, we will start with you.
I'm not familiar with those plans, but if they are outdated, I will certainly work to update them. I would involve the community in that. Joint partnership with community leaders, churches, schools, and update the plan to meet the needs of the community.
Thank you. Candidate Tordias?
Yes, I am aware of both of these plans, and I would devote city resources to update both of these plans. I think if you look at just the age of these plans, San Jose is in a very different place than it was when these plans were drafted. There's a reason that we typically update all of our master plans on a rolling cadence, and that's because the city has to be nimble to what the current needs are in all of these different focuses. I think especially, coming out of the pandemic, on the one hand, and seeing kind of changing future landscape of our downtown, where we are a little bit less focused on just being, a central business district, but being a 24/7 hub of activity, high density residential, arts and culture, recreation, hospitality. I think that we need to make sure that all of these plans are taking into account this new strategy and this new vision for our downtown. I think also if we look towards the city's dramatic needs for housing in the years ahead, according to state housing regulators, San Jose needs to plan for upwards of 62,000 new homes in the next 8 years. That will mean a lot of infill development. That'll mean a lot of new construction. And I think as part of that process, we need to be mindful about displacement and the impact that this new development will have on local culture to the point of the cultural plan. And it also presents a lot of opportunities for both redevelopment of existing public art sites. We need to make sure we're preserving the public art that we have, but also lots of opportunities to invest in new public art to enliven all of these new spaces that we're building as we are looking to build up our city for the next generation.
Thank you. Candidate Chavez Lopez?
Thank you. Yes. So I was made aware of it through the seminar that you all hosted. And so I think it's great that you as advocates are bringing this up, right, to decision makers or potential decision makers in this case. And so that's definitely the first step. But really, running a nonprofit myself and not having a strategic plan can be very much, you don't really have a direction and you really don't have that roadmap. And so I could see it in a lot of people's best interest that we do have a cultural development roadmap done. And so working with partners, I really appreciate Matthew's idea of really being able to leverage all three sectors to be able to make it happen, even individuals that are interested in investing in it, even if that's a capital campaign or something like that, that the community can get involved. I think that it is a real tool to also have people vested in this plan, right? That they're paying for it, they're adding to it. And I think the city definitely should be invested at a certain level, but philanthropy and individuals and even arts organizations, because we know EDs are incredible fundraisers. And so leveraging them and their strengths to be able to make it happen, I think the council office can really play a key role in really bringing all of those different folks to the table, but really seeing it as a critical piece to think about continued vibrancy in our downtown core. And I think for D3 to really really kind of take the lead on that makes a lot of sense in my mind. So very well equipped and energized to be able to update that plan, considering that, yes, we are in a post-pandemic era. We've learned a lot through that. And I think more and more we understand that, you know, culture and arts and diversity is what's going to really be able to help us really separate ourselves and distinguish ourselves as a destination, especially going into 2026. And so I think it's in a lot of folks' best interests, and we have to make it so so where people can see that.
Thank you. Candidate Smith?
Abby, I'd be willing to give you some of my time. My answer is really quick. Yes, so I say, yes, we should absolutely redo the master plan, and I look forward to designating some money.
Thank you. Candidate Quevedo?
Yes, I'm aware of the plans, and something we can do, and something I proposed early on in my campaign is we need to kick off the general plan 2050 or 2060, if it's that case. We're legally obligated to do that plan every decade or so. I think it's time, especially in this post-pandemic world, for us to start envisioning the city as a whole, especially in the ways that the COVID pandemic hit our city. On the arts front and also on the front on how people go to work. So I think in that process of the general plan, we can use that as an opportunity to update these two other plans and make sure we're utilizing all the city resources we can to make those as good as possible and as intertwined as possible, knowing that the success of our general plan definitely will hit the successes of our arts and cultural communities. So thank you.
Thank you all.
Candidates, how would you ensure that artists and arts organizations are at the planning table for the major upcoming 2026-2027 initiatives, including the 250th birthday of San Jose, to ensure that our city remains a vibrant tourist destination? And we're starting with candidate Torrijos.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, all of the upcoming events that we have here in San Jose, whether it's the World Cup, Madness, the Super Bowl, or our own birthday celebration, really do present great opportunities to bring new folks into our city, kind of show off everything that we have to offer here, and really funnel a lot of new visitors into our downtown core to participate in street activations, other cultural events, and spend their time and money supporting our local businesses and our local institutions. I think the city's taking some good first steps here in terms of hiring a centralized manager to oversee all of these large scale events. I think the short-term focus is obviously for kind of these big marquee sports events where we're looking at connectivity with Levi Stadium, partnership with our hotel circuit. But I think as part of this, we need to also be looking ahead to all of the programming and all of the advertising that's going to be going to all of these events to promote downtown and all of the events that we have. I think as part of that, we need to make sure that local arts and cultural institutions to make sure that they are brought in early into the process so that we are able to leverage all of the expertise, all of the talent, all of the local jobs and local arts and cultural institutions that we have here to make sure that we are presenting, you know, an authentically San Jose experience in all of our advertising and in all of our activations and events around all of these events.
Thank you. Candidate Chavez Lopez.
Yeah, I think kind of leaning into what I was saying, you know, being able to, we know that folks are going to have choices, right? Whether they go to San Francisco, whether they go to Oakland, or whether they come to San Jose. And I think we're going to have to earn that business, quite frankly. And we're going to have to really be able to distinguish ourselves. And I think that our creative sector, one, needs to be invited. It could start with an invitation to a seat at that table. Any conversation that's happening, making sure that we have representatives that are being able to sit in those seats that can bring that perspective first and foremost, I think is really critical. And making sure that, you know, San Jose has a strong message. And who better tell that story than our chief storytellers, which are our artists and our creatives. And so I think really being able to uplift stories of San Jose, the diversity, the culture, the food economy, who best to tell that story. And so I think it's going to be really important that we're making those connections as we hear about them, as we know about them, whether it's mural projects, whether it's any sort of, potential RFP that goes out, that we are sharing those as much as possible. And to mention, if there's any sort of, economic opportunities to plug in, I think it's going to be key. But I think sometimes it's just a last thought, and it just needs to really be at the forefront, and really in the planning stages that we're in now. And so just keeping on top of that, I think, is going to be really important. But sometimes it's just as easy enough as an invitation and a seat at that table to come and really be able to give their perspective as well.
Thank you. Candidate Smith.
I really want to focus on the artists in D3. That will be my priority, to bring them specifically to the table to see what we can do together to drive more people to downtown as a result of all of these events. It's a tremendous opportunity, and we really shouldn't be late to the game on this. So as soon as we're in office, we should be moving very quickly to start those meetings.
Thank you. Candidate Quevedo.
Yeah, considering the seat may not, for the folks running for this office, will not be set until potentially August, it is important to hit the ground running, absolutely. I think something that we can do is make sure that legislation is passed at City Council requiring that there is an arts seat from the city of San Jose. Whether the council or the Arts Commission makes that selection for who represents the arts community, or if there's a number of seats representing different styles of art available for this committee, I think that'd be crucial for us to put forward. Much like how we learned during the Google process that we had to ensure that we had seats available for different stakeholder groups, neighborhood groups, and others. We can make sure that through legislation, through a memorandum passed through the District 3 office, that there are seats committed to the arts community, ensuring their voices are heard at the table in all of these conversations moving forward. The scary thing is, from August, there's only a few more months until February and the other events that are happening, so we'd have to move very quickly on all of that.
Thank you. Candidate Wade.
Is that better? All right, thank you, guys. I agree with what we've just said. I think we should start now and focusing on our young kids, our high school kids, and training them to be guides, giving them the opportunity to get to know our District 3 much better, so they can be educated with the community, and also share that experience with the Olympians and all those visitors coming to our city. Gives the kids opportunity to learn more about this, our culture and our cities, and it continues.
Thank you. Thank you, candidate.
Thank you. I feel like the first part of this question has kind of already been answered, but just in case, I'll read it as it's written. How have you directly experienced arts in District 3? How have you seen the arts intersect with other community benefits, including social wellness, belonging, public safety, and affordable housing? And candidate Chavez Lopez will be starting with you.
Sure. Thank you for the question. So as someone who moved here 22 years ago from Fresno, San Jose really was a cultural hub in my mind. It was so diverse. I really, I moved very close. I lived on First and Julian, so I lived very close to St. James Park, which was always activated at that time with events and music and fun. I just remember a time where the park was just much more activated, quite frankly. And so I've experienced it, as a resident and as a single person, and now I'm experiencing it as a mother, more in Japantown, celebrating, all of the different cultural events. And I love to expose my son to all of the incredible cultures that make San Jose beautiful. And so, I'm always outside. I'm always walking around. I'm constantly in downtown and enjoy Sofa Market. And a lot of me and my mom friends, we take our kids and we just love and appreciate so much that the arts and culture does for quality of life for me, and also as an employer in our downtown. My team goes out and shops at the little shops that are pop-ups, and they buy from artists, and so they're also encouraging that economic activity. And so just bringing employees in downtown has been my contribution as well, to have them activate and take part in First Fridays. We take part in First Fridays as an organization in the downtown core. So very, very active in the arts community. I go to events. I go to many of your all events and support you through, buying skulls or supporting artists. And so, yeah, I'm very invested, and it's just been what has made my quality of life living in D3 so wonderful and vibrant. And so I just wanted to make sure that we protect it, and that we make sure that that continues, not only, for my family, but for all of the families in San Jose.
Thank you. Candidate Smith?
One of the reasons we moved here to downtown was because of the easy access to arts. We would take my daughter to glassblowing classes in Japantown. And of course, she went to higher fire and learned how to do all sorts of ceramics, and has taken those skills along with her. And I really worry about what we're doing about art in schools. And I told you before about the mental health connection. I think it's absolutely critical that we pay attention to that and figure out how we can accent the stuff that we have, all of the arts, from performance to visual to everything that downtown has to offer, and how we can bring children much more into that process.
Thank you. Candidate Quevedo?
Yeah, of course. I'm born and raised in the city of San Jose. I've always enjoyed coming to the downtown core. I grew up in the southern part of the city, but coming to the downtown and celebrating the many amazing events that would happen. I mean, so many fun memories of Christmas in the park, and of course, the vibrancy that brings during the holiday season. Just people out and about, going to local restaurants, to local shops, going to local small markets. I mean, it's just such a wonderful time. But I love so much just the vibrancy and the different places you can go to in downtown in District 3. I think of the posadas that happen in Guadalupe, Washington neighborhood, where you can go enjoy the community and get to know a lot of the celebrations that occur there, and get to know the neighborhood a lot closer. To Gabby's point, of course, going to Japantown and the many different events that happen there, such as Owan Festival. It's just when there's so much organicness, being a trumpet player and being a band nerd, when you would try to script your solo, it would be very difficult. But when you went out there and did it on your own and just organically played the instrument and lined with the music, it happened so beautifully and so naturally. And that's how so many of our community and cultural events happen in our neighborhood.
Attention, library closes the public in 5 minutes.
Of course, we have the support nodes and continue to exist, and making sure the city is supporting them as much as possible to help them celebrate. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember, sorry, Candidate Wade?
So, as mentioned earlier, I was a thespian, a director, and producer in a theater. I think for all persons involved in that type of art, it's a character builder and talent developer. I think, and as well as being therapeutic. I think everyone should have that kind of arts. And I'm sorry I've forgotten the rest of the question. That's my answer.
Okay. Do you want me to read the second half of the question?
Please, 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 please.
Yes, of course. So how have you seen the arts intersect with other community benefits, including social wellness, belonging, public safety, and affordable housing?
Yeah. Well, the wellness is the therapeutic part of it. housing, I think that does affect. That is something we can look at as far as the homeless, unhoused is concerned. Um, it is therapeutic for them, for the homeless, and as far as bringing in revenue so that we can treat them better, that is a good cause that we should pursue as well.
Thank you. Candidate Torrijos?
Thank you. Like some other folks here, part of the reason that my husband and I moved downtown is because we wanted to be in a more walkable place where we had easy access to arts and culture. I'm a big theater fan, so we love walking over to the Center for Performing Arts for a local touring production from Broadway. We love visiting our Museum Row and going to street fairs and events like South First Fridays. Looking forward to one this Friday. In terms of the benefits that are associated with art, in my own community, we've worked with local artists to help transform local city-owned utility boxes into over a dozen murals that we call art boxes, featuring work from local students and other artists in our community. I think that these have helped to obviously beautify our streets. We've seen decreases in the rate of graffiti on these utility boxes, which is a great community benefit. And they also help to increase a sense of belonging in our community, since we're able to reach out to different artists from different parts of the community and have different cultural representations incorporated into all of these murals. So I think that's a great benefit. You also mentioned affordable housing. I love seeing new affordable housing projects go up in District 3 and elsewhere in the city, and then seeing partnership between the developers of those projects and organizations that put up murals. I think you can drive around downtown San Jose in District 3 and see a number of beautiful murals adorning recently constructed affordable housing projects, which really provide a great asset to the community. More directly, I know that Local Color has office space in an affordable housing project right in downtown. I think that that's a model that we should really look to emulate elsewhere, where we can fill some of this ground floor commercial space where we may not be able to find a rental tenant for retail, but we could look to leverage that space to support local community organizations, arts organizations, and nonprofits.
Thank you.
What is one thing you've heard tonight that you would like to learn more about? We're going to start with Candidate Smith.
I would like to learn more about the various connections between the large number of artists that we have in D3 and how we can foster those connections to be together bigger than we are, so that we can really promote and attract the tourism that we're dependent on in D3 to be the economic engine and to be successful. So I really want to understand how we can bridge those connections.
Thank you. Candidate Quevedo.
I guess something that I thought about a lot while we went through the forum last week and conversations I've had with the arts community over the years.
Attention, library is now open to the public. Extended study hours are now in effect.
I would love to learn more about, outside of the funding part of how to help and make great art happen, what other policies would the arts community like for us to push on? Of course, affordable housing is going to be a major one, making sure that we have housing for individuals in the arts community so that they can create great art and not have to worry about increasing housing costs. But what other items and policies that they would like to see out of the city government would they like for us to pursue? I think the conversation many times, because of the budget situation, centers around the TOT fund and the future of funding, which of course is absolutely critical. But what other policies and items would they like to see? Many folks in the arts advocates community like to see the city push the needle on. I think that'd be an interesting conversation.
Thank you. Candidate Wade.
I'd like to see answers on how we intend to resolve the homeless issue, the unhoused. I would have liked to heard answers on how we intend to deal with the police department, redesign and redeploy the police department, um, the health and safety of our communities. Those are just a few of the questions that I would like to have us discuss.
Thank you. Candidate Tordios.
Thank you. You know, when we had the community forum last week, there were a couple slides that got flashed up that were just the number of different organizations that received grant funding from that small 15 cents on every dollar allocation from the top revenue. And just the number of different organizations and the impact that they've been able to have in our community with relatively scant resources was incredibly impressive to me. We've talked a lot today about the need to find new ways to be creative, to generate additional funding for arts and culture here in San Jose. So the thing I'd like to learn more about is just talking directly with many of these organizations in our community and hear what they would do if we were able to find them more funding. You know, what is their grand vision for the things that they would love to do, the events they would like to hold, the programs they'd like to start, if only they could get the funding. I think engaging with all of our partners in this space and hearing their grand visions about what could be possible is a great way to help, again, just build a coalition to have the votes on city council to continue to invest in arts and culture here in San Jose.
Thank you. Candidate Chavez Lopez.
Yeah, I think I'd be curious to learn about the model of being able to incubate space in an affordable housing development and how that's going, lessons learned, if that can be scaled. I think us as a nonprofit being incubated for 2 years inside of the Chamber of Commerce was game changing for us as an organization early on in our infancy. And so thinking through, like, can more of that happen, especially as commercial space is sitting vacant right now. And I know a lot of developers also are looking for creative solutions to activate, ground floor retail. So I would love to learn more about how that partnership is going and lessons learned, good and bad, and seeing if we could scale that throughout D3, because I think that would be a win-win for everyone involved, especially leading into 2026. And using that as a sense of urgency, but also being able to advocate to our current appointed council member around bringing some of those conversations up during budget conversations as well. So let's get to work right now. Hold his feet to the fire a little bit. So I think that would be happy to do that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. And it seems we have ended early. I think Amanda Rawson's going to be brought back into the spotlight here to read our closing statement.
Absolutely. Wow, thank you, everyone. Thank you, District 3 candidates. We really appreciate your time this evening. Not only this evening, but attending our previous conversations. And as we heard, some of you have actually attended some of our events in person. Thank you for that. We are here as advocates, giving our time to provide you information, to inform you of all of the things that we are aware of the civic level, both locally, regionally, and nationally. So just keep that in mind. And that goes to our viewers as well. Please reach out to us, San Jose Arts Advocates. You'll be able to contact us through our social medias and email and our website. So I also want to thank our San Jose Arts Advocates team for joining us this evening and sharing their time, asking all of the great questions that we were able to put together. For those of you who live in District 3, we want to remind you to register and vote on or before April 8th. Okay, so you can visit the Santa Clara County Registrar at sccvote.org to look up your districts, check your registration, and do what you have to do, get out there and vote. Once again, we encourage you all to read the candidate questionnaires on our website. Some of the questions are similar to the questions that were asked this evening, some of them not so much, so you'll be able to kind of dig a little deeper on reading how the candidates have responded to the questions prior, and come back and watch tonight's forum once it's presented on YouTube. You can also follow the link we're posting in the chat, which I believe Peter has done that for us. I just want to highlight a few things that are happening this coming week. Tomorrow, SV Creates presents Arts Advocacy for 2025. Tomorrow from 12 p.m. to 1:30 online, join SJAA along with leaders from our statewide arts advocacy partners, California for the Arts, and SV Creates for discussion on arts policy, funding issues on the agenda for 2025, and how to sharpen your advocacy skills. So this is incredibly important as we think about how funding is going to affect the arts moving forward. And that's not just for artists, but also for nonprofit organizations and for locations that are also city-owned buildings, such as San Jose Museum of Art. One other one I want to share is our South First Fridays Art Walk, which is happening this Friday, March 7th, downtown San Jose in the SoFa District. This is a free event. Also, I know San Jose Museum of Art is going to be open. They will be presenting one of their new exhibits. Please join that community from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. And I also want to ask you all to please follow San Jose Arts Advocates on social media. If you don't receive our newsletter, we encourage you to sign up. And also want to remind you to let's see, what do we have here? To learn about the candidates even more so during their forum on Thursday, March 6th at 6:30 at the San Jose Women's Club, moderated by San Jose Spotlight. So thank you again and have a great evening, everyone. Please reach out to us if you have any questions or want to learn more about what we're doing.